by accessing toronto.ca/COVID-19 or by accessing the provincial call center at 1-888-999-6488.
Oh, it's been one bullshit thing after another.
Nor Toronto Public Health for assistance in booking your COVID-19.
10 minutes waiting for an IP address. That's interesting.
We're not able to access the COVAX system on your behalf. Finally, please continue to monitor toronto.ca/COVID-19 for the most up-to-date information.
Put program into monitor channel 1. A, no B.
Thank you,
A and B.
And good afternoon.
Scan channel A. No, switch to B.
Reporting 1,296 new cases of COVID-19. There are 632 people in hospital. 108 of them are in the ICU. Sadly, we are reporting 5 more deaths to COVID-19. From last Thursday and through today, we have seen 6,114 new cases of COVID-19 in Toronto. These numbers speak for themselves today. I will only add that when the Hospital for Sick Children is providing ICU care to adults, you know you're living through one of the worst periods of the pandemic.
Yes, you let the adults come ahead of the children again.
The women and men in Toronto's hospitals who are somehow finding reserves of professional resolve and personal strength are truly incredible. Know that your colleagues in public health.
Remember how much these fucking people brag about being superhuman. You don't know how it is. The decisions we have to make, somehow finding reserves of resolve.
To address cluster and outbreak investigations, infection prevention and control, and vaccination rollout, to name but a few. No matter where I look, whether in public health or in healthcare,
staring at your mouth,
I see people doing heroic work
hands
under a crushing third wave of virus. What we are seeing is the explosive, exponential growth described by me and many of my peers when the variants first arrived in Toronto.
You fucking whore! You spent a year trying to elope with people
by the B117
to force them to feel for you.
With the other 2 primary variants present in Toronto as well. It is much, much easier to spread a variant COVID-19 virus. So please.
Oh, so encourage them to spread it, you fucking idiot. It's easier to catch,
the virus
and it'll
spreads
kill you
from one
faster.
person to another, the virus has an opportunity to mutate.
An opportunity?
Even to create a new variant that could create a whole new set of problems.
Especially if you're vaccinated.
Please remember this. Everybody needs to do 2 things in the days ahead. We need to stay home and apart from each other until the tide turns. And we need to get vaccinated as soon as possible. If we mix right now, we're adding risk upon risk. If we stay apart, we will, with patience and diligence, reduce risk. If we get vaccinated as soon as our turn comes, we will reduce risk. If you have had your vaccination, continue observing the steps for self-protection to protect others. If you are amongst those waiting for your vaccination, the best thing you can do is to stay away from people you don't live with as much as you possibly can. When you can't, be outdoors as much as possible, but still be strict about the steps for
You've got the
self-protection.
worst advice in the world.
The 1918 flu pandemic was so deadly and so widespread that more than 100 years later, we still compare it with what is happening now. But even then, the 1918 pandemic ran its course and ended. Today, We have incomparably advanced scientific and medical knowledge. We have information and ways to share it instantly. We have a world of advantages that will help bring the COVID-19 pandemic to an end. And we have ourselves, able to do things in daily life to bring it to an end even faster. COVID-19 has produced one challenge after another, but we live in a time when we have never been better positioned to meet those challenges and ultimately overcome them. With that, I'll now hand it over to Lavin for the question period.
Thank you, Dr. Davila, Mayor Tory, and Chief Peg. We'll now begin the Q&A from the media. As a reminder, it's one question, one follow-up, and when we call your name, please unmute yourself. And we do also have staff on the line if you have any technical questions. First up, we have Matt Bingley from Global. Go ahead, Matt.
Hi, good afternoon, rather. Dr. Davila, and I guess Mayor Tory as well. Earlier today, Dr. Davila was presenting the modeling numbers showing upwards of 2,500 daily cases due for the city at the end of the month. And I'm wondering if you think that more restrictions are needed to lower that number. You often speak about learning from other jurisdictions. I'm wondering what other restrictions other jurisdictions have who are facing what we're looking at with exponential growth, such as curfews or something like that, may be something that you think would help.
So why don't I start off, Matt? Thanks for the question. You're quite right. The information that I presented at today's Board of Health suggested that, with no change to transmission patterns, that we could see as much as 2,500 cases on a daily basis by the end of this month. And clearly, this is a situation that we would all like to avoid. So, in keeping with what we have done throughout the entire pandemic, which is to apply the best available data and evidence to our circumstances, we're constantly talking to our provincial counterparts, as are all the other public health units around the province, looking at what opportunities there are. And as I've said before, I'm in support of those solutions that can be implemented and can be made to work that actually reduce the spread of COVID-19 in our community. Of course, any measures that are put into place rely on each and every one of us complying with those measures. And fundamentally, what it comes down to is each and every one of us keeping our distance to the greatest extent possible. And the greatest way to do that is to actually stay home as much as possible for those for whom that is an option. That's how we best protect our community, and it's how we best protect all those who need to provide those essential services that allow our city to continue to function. I'll turn it over to the mayor to see if he has anything further to add.
Well, I think Dr. Davila has said it very well. I will just say that I would obviously abide, as I have throughout the pandemic, on the advice of the public health officials led by Dr. Davila herself. I'm not a great fan of curfews, so it would take some persuasion if that was something that was to come to the fore. But I think at the end of the day, what we have to do for the moment is focus on the measures we have in place. I think this week is a real moment of truth, because I think we can turn the corner. And I think we can, with the vaccination efforts we're making, help ourselves turn the corner in that way as well. And so I think if we focus on those things, then there's notwithstanding projections that come, the projections are based on current circumstances. And if we can do better as people collectively and do better in terms of our efforts to get everybody vaccinated, then I think we can do better than those projections would suggest.
Okay, back over to Dr. Davila. I was wondering if you could break down the cases that we're seeing today by age category. I was asking your counterparts with Toronto Public Health if they could do this, much like Ottawa Public Health does, by a 10-year age bracket, and was told that they can't. And I'm just wondering if you could do that, and going forward, if you could do that, and if you think that, where many doctors are saying that this is now shifted into a younger person's disease, if you think that this would help by showing the ages on a daily basis.
So, Matt, to your question, I don't have those numbers available with me right now, but certainly we do have access to data and can look at cases by age. What I can tell you at a very high level is that what you're describing is in fact what we're seeing. We do see whereas earlier in the pandemic we saw a greater proportion of cases in, say, the 60-plus age group, we are in this particular wave seeing more and more of the cases. I've noted in particular in that 20 to 59 age group with a greater preponderance in the younger half of that demographic. We've also, as of late, seen more cases within the even younger than 20 years of age within that school age population. But I'm afraid I don't have those numbers with me. Happy to talk to you offline, though, Matt.
Thank you, Matt. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I'd just like to say a word about that. I think Toronto Public Health has done a fantastic job of making a lot of information very transparently available to the public, whether it's in releases and statements we make here, but also in the dashboard that's found on the website. But I hope people will take note of just things that I saw myself in the last 24 hours on the news. I saw a young man on television last night, 35 years old, and he's been out of hospital for some time, and he's still got oxygen that he's required to have because of a bout with COVID-19. And he told the story of being put into intensive care, and that as he was going in, they told him perhaps he better be in touch with his relatives because his health was in such jeopardy that he better tell them that that might be the last chance they would have to talk. And thank God he survived. And then I heard another story of somebody relatively young who was having a double lung transplant. Only because I guess the person's of an age where they can do that sort of thing. But of course, we all know that there are only certain numbers of double lung transplants that are available. There are people, I guess, on the waiting list for this right now. And I think in some respects, maybe the kinds of things outline the danger, whatever the numbers say, that are posed to younger people as well as on a continuing basis to older people than the statistics that we can rattle off, which somehow sometimes people think, are not real or don't apply to real people. Whereas the guy on TV last night and the person having the double lung transplant, those are real people, and there are many more like them.
Thank you, Mayor. Next up, we have Natalie Johnson from CTV. Go ahead, Natalie.
Hi, everyone. My first question is for Chief Pegg. Chief, I'm wondering if you can address the confusion that exists right now for people who are 18 to 49 who live in a designated hotspot and who've been told by the province that they are eligible for a shot, but who can't, as you say, book an appointment to add a city clinic at this point. Is the issue that there isn't enough vaccine for everyone who's been prioritized by the province, or simply that the provincial software hasn't been updated yet for these people to book? When do you expect this to change? Because as you know, the mobile clinics and pop-ups that are operating right now are not able to support that entire demographic.
Sure. Good afternoon, Natalie. I appreciate that there is some confusion, and I think that we all appreciate how quickly these things are moving and how quickly we're all having to respond and pivot, if you will, to the changes that are being made. The eligibility that the province extended to those between 18 and 49 years old was and is limited to taking part in mobile and pop-up clinics that are launched specifically in high-risk neighborhoods. The province did not make vaccine available by other means, including through city-operated vaccine clinics, to that age category yet. We know that in due course and at some point, hopefully in the near future, that will change. But as it is right now, those 18 years of age and older who are eligible for vaccine are eligible in hotspot neighborhoods at such time as there are pop-up or mobile clinics launched. Those clinics, like we talked about, are coordinated through the Ontario Healthcare Leadership Table in response to COVID-19 and are operated by our hospital and our Ontario health teams. So they are active now, they are in communities, and will continue to be. Vaccine, of course, continues to be, I would say, our global challenge. We all wish there was a larger supply of vaccine. I'm confident that the day is coming when we're going to see the vaccine availability increase, and that will do a couple of things. It will allow our city-operated clinics to increase capacity. It will allow our Team Toronto partners to increase their capacity, and that will include a wider distribution and a more frequent distribution of both mobile and pop-up clinics. But until such time as we're in that place, the regulations, or I shouldn't say regulations, the eligibility that the province has put in place for 18 plus is restricted to mobile and pop-up clinics in those priority neighborhoods.
May I just add a comment related to the meeting that was held today before you ask your second question? The mayors and chairs from the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area met today, and one of the points and requests they made was for the province to perhaps set out those kinds of parameters within which people are eligible for vaccine at different ages and so on a region-wide basis, so that it's clear to everybody, because there's so many different governments and public health agencies and others, hospitals involved in delivering all of this, that there's been some understandable lack of clarity sometimes in people's minds. And so we requested today that they should perhaps set this out as part of a publicity campaign that could make it clearer to people what some of those parameters are, as was well explained by the chief, and what some of the reasons were, so that people will better understand that. We think that's very important to the maintenance of public confidence and just to people's understanding.
Thanks. So my second question is for Dr. Davila. How close is Toronto Public Health to having mobile vaccination clinics at workplaces? Union leaders of Canada Post at the plant on Eastern Avenue, which is currently an outbreak and has lost one staff member to COVID, are calling for their workers to have access to vaccines at work. Is this something that can be done, and is it too late once a plant is already experiencing an outbreak?
So thanks for the question, Natalie. So a couple of things. One, Toronto Public Health, along with our city partners, is working on establishing mobile clinics, and those should be up and running within a matter of a few short days, as long as all goes well. Of course, there's been a great deal of emphasis. We've just opened up the full slate of mass immunization clinics, and that certainly was a heavy and an important lift, and we can now provide some resourcing towards mobile and pop-up clinics. I would say that mobile clinics are being provided largely through our Ontario health partners and our hospital and healthcare partners, and one of the things that we have undertaken together as part of the Toronto Health Sector Table is to focus on some pilots within workplaces. But I would further say this. You've heard about some of the endeavors, and you've heard the mayor's remarks today around how we are focusing vaccination efforts in concert with the provincial plan on certain hotspot areas within our city where we know a goodly proportion of our essential workers actually live, and the extension of eligibility, at least in mobile and pop-up clinics in many of those neighborhoods, goes down to 18 years of age. So through the combination of the many efforts that are underway, we aim to get to essential workers and their families and households such that we can best address the spread of COVID-19 both in workplaces and in those communities that have been disproportionately impacted by COVID-19.
Thank you, Natalie. Next up, we have John Chidley-Hill from the Canadian Press. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. My first question is for Dr. Davila, and it's something of a follow-up to Natalie's question. Chief Pegg earlier outlined how education workers in Toronto's hotspot communities can get vaccinated. But I was curious, has there been any consideration for mobile pop-up clinics, maybe at schools, where teachers and other school staff can go and get vaccinated and get this done during spring break when they have time to be out of school and maybe have the time to get those vaccinations done?
So thanks, John, for the question. At this point in time, we are focusing our efforts on the mass immunization clinics, the 9 clinics that we've got at the city that are operating in various neighborhoods around the city, and we've situated those to be as accessible as possible. Of course, open to considering what other opportunities that there are in terms of getting vaccine out to various populations. And as we get our mobile clinics up and running in concert with those that are being already operated by our health sector partners, I think we're open
Remember
to
SARS
considering all
stock?
sorts
SARS
of
stock.
possibilities. Again, within keeping with the resources that we have, and of course, in keeping with the available vaccine supply. So options are always on the table. We'll have to assess, what kind of uptake we get under our current vaccine offering, and then make decisions as we always have throughout the course of this pandemic in concert with the data and the evidence that are in front of us.
Thanks. And I have a follow-up. for you, Dr. Davila. The province's decision to switch to online learning once spring break is over. I'm curious, what kind of impact can that have in Toronto, especially in Toronto's hotspot neighborhoods, in terms of slowing the spread of COVID-19 and variants of concern?
Well, I think fundamentally, our ability to control the spread of COVID-19 and to control transmission rests in all of our hands. That's what it comes down to. As I mentioned in my remarks,
you keep emphasizing the wrong thing, stupid.
Stay at home and keep our distance for now until such time as we are able to improve and get vaccination out there into as many arms as is possible. That's actually what is needed in order to control the spread of COVID-19 in our community. To the extent that schools are moving to an online kind of environment, I mean, I think
you just again, it's so easy to spread. You're supposed to say it's easy to catch.
And indicate that there
the power is in your hands. You're encouraging all the fucking psychopaths to go out there and cough and sneeze and spit in people's faces.
People are out and about, there is always
so a year ago, it's just coincidence that all those people actually had COVID.
Risk, I should say, of COVID-19.
Right now, they're running around trying to spread allergies or secondhand crack smoke or something.
Which have demonstrated an increased transmissibility relative to the previous variants of COVID-19 or the previous versions of COVID-19 that we were used to seeing in our community. So at the end of the day,
you realize you've been at this job for exactly 1 year and you've had negative 100.00% success rate. You fucking whore.
And we will rely
even as a politician and a sociopath, she failed. She spent a year faking empathy, pretending she's not a psychopath.
Thank you, John. Next up, we have Jennifer Peglier.
The two of them, the one from the province and her. Teresa Tan.
My first question is for Dr. Davila.
You said that because I'm Chinese. It's funny. I thought you were Canadian and white, bitch.
Premier Ford mentioned earlier when he was asked whether something had gone wrong here. And Dr. Davila, you said yourself you saw this wave coming when you looked at some of the concerns around the variants. And when you was asked that question, Premier Ford referred back to you yourself, the other medical officers of health, Mayor Tory, and the other mayors as going along with the province's plan. And I think people really deserve to know right now whether you think there do need to be more restrictions, as Matt asked you earlier. I appreciate that you are in conversation with the province about that, but I do think that residents of Toronto should know.
We need to be told, but we're not allowed to do.
So thanks, Jennifer. What can I say but that we have
thanks, Jennifer.
That is
again, why are you saying all
consistent with the best available data and evidence on the subject of COVID-19. And as far as I'm concerned, what we're trying to do is really reduce risk associated with COVID-19, while of course at the same time balancing this with other health risks that are out there. We know that there are mental health risks and isolation risks that have existed and that have emerged as a result of the pandemic. So all the way through the pandemic, and you've heard me say this on many occasions, it has been striking the right balance or seeking to strike the right balance in concert with the data and evidence that are available to us. As I mentioned earlier in response to the earlier question, I'm in support of measures that can be made to work reasonably on the ground that actually facilitate our ability to reduce transmission.
You've heard me say this many times, Jennifer.
Anything,
I am not a sociopath.
Mentioning now, I don't really think it's a good idea to engage in policy discussions
the wrong part
through
of
the
every
media.
fucking word
I
that
would
comes
like
out of
to
her mouth.
respect the process, and please rest assured that there's lots of conversation ongoing.
Rest assured, it's two
between
words by
ourselves
itself. When
and
you
other
add
public health
words to the
units
beginning
in
and end, it
province,
sounds stupid.
looking at what
Sounds like
available
you're
evidence
using
there
this, you
is,
don't understand.
looking what impact our current set of measures are having, hopefully moving the transmission of COVID-19 in the right direction, reducing transmission as much as possible in our community, and of course getting vaccine out there and into arms, and especially those that are at the highest risk and are most vulnerable and have been disproportionately impacted by COVID-19 over the course of the pandemic. I'll turn it over to the mayor if he has anything else to add.
Well, I would just like to say that First of all, I do think we should focus now at this point in time on the measures that we have in place and making sure that we comply with those, all of us, to the best extent that we possibly can.
You're not wrong.
Secondly, I would say that without exception, during this pandemic and the entire year-long period, when the medical officer of health and her team have come forward to me with advice with respect to what should be done, I've asked lots of questions. I often put those questions of balance on the table, not that they don't, but I probe those questions to make
the medical
sure
officers of health are going to the elected official for advice. You realize how useless that is. You've defeated the purpose of having medical officers of health.
Small inkling of a different opinion on anything was
they're supposed to be telling him what to do. This is what we would do. This is what we would suggest. This is what you must do. And if you don't, the medical officer of health will say you're not the mayor anymore.
Concern that I had, which was valid as well, about
I'd love to see John Tory on the psych ward. Me and John Tory on the psych ward for 3 weeks.
That is secondary to good health, and so I would just say that if recommendations are made to me with respect to other measures that are going to keep people healthier and get this pandemic over with faster, and in that way, that
I do.
Take different things into account.
You don't understand. The PSWs were good to me.
I will continue to abide by that advice because it's, I think, the best advice we can get.
Just on to go back to the 18+ situation, I agree with my colleagues what Mayor Tory said, that I don't think it was necessarily communicated by the province in a clear way to begin with. But I thought I heard you say at the Board of Health that you would like to see the provincial booking system opened up to the 18 to 49 range. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but if that hasn't been happening, I'm wondering if you have any insight as to what the holdup is.
So, Jen, you're quite right. I did comment on wanting to make vaccination available to as broad a swath of the population as is possible, particularly in those neighborhoods that are highest risk and highest priority based on the incidence of COVID-19 in those communities, the rate of hospitalizations, the rate of mortality associated with COVID-19, and some other factors that also line up with each of these indicators, whether we're looking at income levels or the proportion of housing that is overcrowded in some of these neighborhoods. Really what we want to do is make sure that we're providing every opportunity as soon as possible for COVID-19 vaccination to these hard-hit neighborhoods because it protects the individuals there.
2 years straight, they've been refusing to turn on the ventilation for this building.
Negative impacts associated with COVID-19. It's not clear to me, on what basis decisions might be made, by the provincial government or what constraints they might be working under. But I can assure you,
in her mind, if you spend $700,000 on one of these condos, so it's 400 feet instead of 200 feet, so it's half the density, then that's less crowded, even though it's still one person per unit. The difference is their fucking central ventilation works. That's the only difference.
More effectively.
How do I know? I smell their fucking dryers coming in my fucking window all day because ours is turned on.
Behind us.
Thanks, Jennifer. Next up, we have Francine.
By the way, them dryer sheets cause all sorts of fucking problems in your lungs, cancer, and all sorts of
I think
things.
my first question is to Dr. Davila. Dr. Davila, I think a lot of people are asking today how we ended up here in a third wave that's worse
We're not asking, are we?
wave and worse than the second wave. Isn't there something that we could have done to avoid it?
Something we could have done? Yeah, you were told. You were all told. Her and you were told.
Francine,
And
I
you
think
didn't
that's
do
a
it.
question that we may have to
Francine.
reflect on for some time. I don't know that we will have
Now,
answers
if I
to
don't
it
hear a
directly.
call from you,
I think
I'll
you've
have
heard
to
the
get
mayor
an award
comment
and have you
we know
arrested.
what we can do now. And that's certainly to reduce our interactions to the greatest extent possible. We know that distance does make a difference, and of course we know that vaccine is another key component of the tools that we have at our disposal. I think the other thing, of course, that we have to keep in mind is that the variants are very different virus. It is a different set of circumstances that we're dealing with here. So again, in keeping with that, I will continue to provide advice based on the best available data and evidence that we see in front of us. That's what I've endeavored to do throughout the entire course of the pandemic. I will continue to do that on the go-forward basis, and that's why I call upon the residents of Toronto to really do the best they can to maintain distance as much as possible. Stay home as much as possible at this point in time, because we know that actually does make a difference in terms of transmission, even when it comes to these more transmissible variants of concern. Again, the second point, of course, will be around getting vaccine as soon as your turn comes up. As soon as you are eligible to receive vaccine, I would encourage residents of Toronto to get that vaccine, so that we can, ensure that we're deploying all the tools available to us in terms of our ability to reduce COVID-19 transmission and to get to the other side of this pandemic.
She hasn't said anything in this entire sentence yet. 30 meters. Droplets travel 100 feet, 30 meters.
I'm not sure if it's better to
It's not being exposed to one virion, it's hundreds of thousands over and over. Ventilation is the key.
Unless they're in hotspots.
The laws already exist for that.
Only allowed to
They're in the fire code.
The AstraZeneca's vaccine.
You say your capacity is whatever number it is, that's if your ventilation system is working and used normally.
To people in these age groups, when is it going to be possible for them to book an appointment at one of the mass immunization clinics, for example?
So these are decisions that are going to rest in the hands
I love that
of our
sound. That
provincial
voice is somebody who's been
counterparts.
telling you how you're how dirty and sick you are, and they're the ones who can tell them to break the
We
rules.
know that certainly for residents throughout the city of Toronto, 60 plus, they're eligible. Those aged 60 years of age and older are eligible to receive vaccine. We know that those who are aged 55 years of age and older are eligible to receive AstraZeneca vaccine through participating pharmacies and through participating primary care practices as well. And Francine, as you rightfully pointed out, in hotspot areas, we know that those who are 50 years of age and older can also participate in vaccine clinics, whether they're mass immunization clinics or others. So that's currently the state.
January, February, vaccines are not going to.
There are also other eligibility criteria that are out there.
Mathematically, they're not vaccinating fast enough for it to work. And then you throw in variants.
This has opened up the opportunity for those who have chronic conditions, chronic health conditions, and they are risk ranked, if you will, by the province, to also participate in vaccine. In addition, some primary caregivers for these
let's say
individuals
$15 dissolves. There's still 6 cells. It's in my fucking DNA. The same way everyone else said I got the same health I got. It's a mutation from 7,300 years ago. Parvovirus B19 came into being 6,500 years ago in the human experience.
All the different criteria. We're in constant communication with our provincial counterparts. Certainly,
if we were growing tomatoes for 3,000 years before sickle cell came out.
And I can assure you that we are all committed and all interested in making sure that we're vaccinating as many people as possible, as quickly as possible, but focused first and foremost on those vaccinating those individuals in those neighborhoods where we can get the greatest value in terms of protecting our entire community out of the resources that we have available to us right now.
Can I just make
that's not
damage. I think it just
that's even more street than it was.
Toronto and Hamilton area mayors talked about this afternoon. I envisage one of these ads, whether it appears online or appears in a newspaper that says, if you are this old and you have this characteristic, if you are this old and you have this characteristic, but it sets out for each of the different categories. And we think that it is best done by the province simply because they have the ability to transcend beyond the boundaries. We're all regional and municipal governments, and we only
exist at the whim of the province.
Different kinds of clinics and other things. The province can put out those.
It's basically a provincially registered incorporation. Why is that so?
They're actually fairly straightforward, but rarely do we hear them set out in that way, where it sort of speaks to each group, and you can go down the list as we would do many times when we look at advertisements or checklists and find the group that we belong to. So I think that is something that would be very helpful at this stage.
Thank you, Francine. Next up, we have Malia Sheikh from City News. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. So I have a question for Mayor Tory. Kingston Police put out a news release recently saying that parks are not to be used as a destination or for activities like sitting or sunbathing, which is not allowed under the stay-at-home order because it doesn't qualify as exercise. So they attempted to enforce this several times at Breakwater Park on April 8th.
Guess what's essential? Vitamin D. 3, D3.
And are people not allowed to hang out in parks for fresh air?
Well, of course, people are supposed to go outside and engage in safe.
You're supposed to go outside. That's why we keep fucking up the air in your house. You're supposed to go out and get sick. And then we fuck up your internet, so you will get frustrated and go out and get jumped by a bunch of Nazis. Sorry, that's just my
one of the things we're thinking of doing is to, repaint some of the circles in parks to help people with the distancing because, that's sometimes a challenge on a nice day. But I can just tell you that the enforcement people were out.
Bro, I got a free meal I'm going to miss listening to your dumb ass. Maybe I should skip it.
Others on the line may wish to say a word about that, but that the approach will be to, as we have done, encourage people if they possibly can. While not saying they should not use parks, I think what we said was, go for a walk in your own neighborhood. Don't travel to a destination park, if I can call it that. Try to stay in your own local area, and of course, try to stay.
And don't go over the barriers at Scarborough Bluffs.
People you live with as a means of the distance and requirements with public health guidance that Dr. Davila and others, all of us have been referring to today.
I stood up the sound, I guess I did.
Sure, Malia, in Chief Peg, in response or just in follow-up, to Mayor Tory, our coordinated enforcement team
John
was
out the way.
very active over the course of the weekend.
If I could just interrupt here.
So engaged in the community,
follow-up.
proactively inspecting and engaging with folks, as well as reactively in the sense of responding to
He's
complaints.
the fire chief.
I can
I'm
tell
the
you
war
that over
chief.
the
He's the
course
fire
of the
chief.
weekend, there were 10 charges laid by our enforcement teams under the Reopening Ontario Act, and a further 6 notices were issued, and that includes that's a net sum of issues.
Dude, you're not enforcing the fucking residential fire codes unless it's convenient. You can kick a bunch of niggers out of their house.
Different types of complaints.
So the way the laws are written and overlap, it's not possible for them to kick us out of this building for the carbon monoxide. So they won't do anything about it.
Connected, working both proactively and then working together
Brad J. Lamb,
receive complaints, to prioritize.
They would never go up against him.
On the basis
except they had the opportunity to kick a bunch of niggers and single mothers out of their house, so they did. 1405 or whatever, Bluer, some shit like that.
Question. There's also a couple of gyms that are sending out letters to their clients, telling them if they get a note saying that they have a physical or mental disability and that they need to work out, that they bring that note, and some of them are trying to open up, such as F45, a couple of other gyms. So is the city looking into this?
Drop a little name there. That wasn't paid for.
So, Amelia, thanks. That's actually the first I've heard of this.
You're not Aaliyah.
I'm certainly happy to have our team work with others in enforcement. This is a question, I think, for legal counsel to understand, what opportunities there are in the regulations. But as far as I understand it, and again, this is the interpretation of legal or legislation.
If the gyms are specifically
by a physician, which is
named in the order,
the best thing to do. But my understanding is that there aren't those exceptions or opportunities for such exemptions under the existing legislation and associated regulations. But certainly happy to take that offline and take a look at what the specifics are.
Malia, I'll just say that I too am unaware of the circumstance or the example you gave, and as Dr. Davila indicated,
but it opened your eyes. Everybody wants to regulate everything, and every time they do, hey, what about this situation?
Standards team, as well as the Toronto Police and our legal branch, to understand exactly what is going there. So thank you for making us aware of that.
Oh, I thought it was down to 5 papers. It was down to 10.
Question is Roman Qureshi.
Oh, hi, it was last
Go ahead, Roman.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for taking my question. Mayor Tory, this one is for you.
Domestic terrorists! I love it. I love these guys.
The city to allow people to consume alcohol in public parks and beaches.
Hey, buddy, they already told us they're not going to enforce those rules last year.
Summer of this pandemic, there are people who don't.
Bear in mind, if you see people drunk in public, they're going to be coughing, spitting, not situationally aware.
To embrace that and allow people to drink alcohol in public spaces like parks and beaches.
I've been,
not in beaches. Why? Because you people throw the bottles, cans everywhere, stupid.
Now, and I think this kind of thing was obviously interrupted by the pandemic and our need to focus on the pandemic exclusively. I think
you were going to brush it off till this cold virus came around.
Because I think there are many different aspects, including public health aspects, and including just the sort of well-being of people when they're in parks and the general enjoyment of parks by everybody. And so I think it'll be something whose time will come, perhaps shortly. But at the moment, my exclusive focus is on the pandemic and on dealing with that.
That's all I'm thinking about. What a waste of time it is for me to keep calling up 311-392-CITY
when we get there.
When I could just send an email.
Well, he wants it to be a pilot project that begins in May, citing the pandemic as part of the reason that it's needed, because people need a place to go, and if they can't do it, if they don't have a backyard or a balcony, they need a place to go. So do you think it's something that should start that soon by May?
And that's how the drug dealers started running shooting galleries back in the 80s. All getting hooked on fucking vapors.
With people who have a glass of wine or a glass of beer or beer in a park right now, I think you'd find most of the time that the enforcement officers of all kinds have other things to do than to focus on that. I think the real issue is
he's pretending that there's some sort of, us white people are sort of letting things slide. A year ago, a year and a month ago, they told us that they're not going to enforce this shit. So we're kind of doing you a little favor, and they're sort of looking the other way. No, they told us, the province, a year ago, you don't need a smart surf card to deliver alcohol. You don't have to be 19. You can buy from 7 a.m.
I'm staying very focused on the pandemic and on dealing with the huge
they already told us.
Thank you, Moment. That's the last question for today. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Our next COVID-19 media briefing will be on Wednesday, April 14th. Have a great day.
At what time?
Yeah, you've been listening to the city's latest media briefing for COVID-19. We'll have the latest coming up in just moments, including from Premier Ford, an announcement that in-person learning at schools across the province will not be resuming after spring break. This is 680 News.
No, I point out again what's killing me.
Together on the ones brought to you by City TV with Look Your Drive. Good afternoon, Jordan Kerr.
I don't have enough oxygen in my system to process food to be able to walk up and go get the food. I won't for another hour or two, and then the food will be over, right?
From north of Baby Bloor
Death of 1,000 cars.
Northbound on the 400, approaching King Road on the left shoulder, we have a crash. It's backed up from Major Mackenzie. Then delays from King Road to north of it because of a protest of the MTO scales that's been going on for a good portion of the afternoon. So that's still there. Northbound 410 delays from.
And Anthony Dale says 12 out of 14 GTA hospitals will send their pediatric patients to Toronto's Hospital for Sick Children for care.
This is the battle of a lifetime. This virus has got Ontario under attack. We're under siege in terms of community spread, a number of people getting sick. And this virus is trying to put hospitals on their knees.
This comes as Ontario's ordered most hospitals to cancel elective surgeries and procedures. The province says there are 619 people in intensive care units. 408 of them are on ventilators. Toronto's medical officer of health says that the city could see 2,500 new COVID-19 cases per day by the end of this month.
Everybody needs to do two things in the days ahead. We need to stay home and apart from each other until the tide turns, and we need to get vaccinated as soon as possible.
And Dr. Eileen Davila says the surging rates are being driven by more transmissible variants, and the city's vaccination program won't be enough to offset their impact. More medical experts are weighing in on the benefits of paid sick days and reducing the risk of the more contagious COVID-19 variant spreading among essential workers. Global's Lisa Pileski reports.
The Canadian Medical Association says provincial governments should be implementing a program to provide paid sick days for workers who can't afford to take time off. Dr. Ann Collins, president of the CMA, says the variants have changed the game.
They're much more transmissible in these populations, essential workers, for example, in food distribution sites, grocery stores, transport. So not only is the paid sick day initiative essential for these people to protect them, it's really to protect everyone.
Ontario's premier has dismissed the idea of paid sick days, pointing to a federal program that's already in place. But advocates say the Canada Recovery Sickness Benefit doesn't apply to every situation and also doesn't move quickly enough to get money to those who need it. Lisa Pileski, Global News.
Some developing news from Knoxville, Tennessee this hour, where police have responded to a high school following a call for an active shooter. And Global's Reggie Cicchini has the very latest.
Police received a call to Austin East Magnet High School just before 3 o'clock local time in the Knoxville area, tweeting out that multiple agencies were responding. Initial reports from police suggest there were multiple victims, including at least one officer. The condition of the victims and the exact number still aren't known. School officials say the building has been secured. 4 current or past students of the high school have died as a result of gun violence this year, sparking calls in the community for more action. The president signed executive actions last week to strengthen gun control measures, but they're largely symbolic, leaving the heavy lifting to Congress. There have been more than 125 mass shooting events in the United States so far this year, with nearly 150 deaths. Reggie Cicchini, Global News, Washington.
Well, listen to us on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto through the Radio Player Canada app. Quiet NHL trade deadline day. The biggest deal saw the last place Buffalo Sabres ship Taylor Hall to the Boston Bruins. Maple Leafs made a couple of small moves. They picked up defenseman Ben Hutton from the Anaheim Ducks for a 5th-round pick. They also acquired forward Antti Suomela from San Jose in exchange for Alexander Barbanov. The Leafs acquired veteran forward Nick Foligno from the Columbus Blue Jackets and backup goalie David Riddick from the Calgary Flames over the weekend. It's an original 6 battle in Montreal tonight as the Leafs take on the Habs. Canadians have lost 3 in a row and are 6 points ahead of the Calgary Flames in the race for the final playoff spot in the North Division. Robbie Ray set to make his season debut for the Blue Jays tonight. The left-hander was sidelined by an elbow contusion, but is set to take the mound when the Blue Jays host the New York Yankees today. The Jays were scheduled to play the LA Angels yesterday, but the game was postponed due to rain. The forecast from the Global News Weather Center: some light rain tonight, a low of 6. Tomorrow, some morning showers, high of 10, and a low of 5 overnight. Cloudy on Wednesday and a high of 11. It's 8 degrees in downtown Toronto. I'm Danny Longo. This is Global News Radio, 640 Toronto.
License 10349.
Northwood Mortgage.
Live at Queen's Park, I'm Mark Douglas. 680 News Time 506. Living in a pandemic.
Hey, what happened to the team at 21 Division of Brampton?
Ontario, one city council has launched a pilot project that would allow for alcoholic beverages to be consumed in parks and beaches this summer. 680's Momin Qureshi takes a look.
We're about to enter our 2nd summer of this pandemic, and while some of you
wanted, there's going to be a whole bunch of reasons. So they're going to babble. This is some new idea that we're dreaming up. No, the province told you a year ago you're not going to be able to enforce these rules for a whole bunch of reasons. But you're not going to have it on beaches because there's water and people are stupid and there's no lifeguards, and you're going to have broken glass and crushed up aluminum, which is sharp. The glass will eventually get worn down by waves, but that takes decades. The aluminum will, I want to say, never rust. It'll take a long time to corrode, an exceptional long time. It will burn and it will rust, but it takes a long time or high heat. You're not going to have that in the fucking beaches, bro. That's fucking stupid. Why does everybody keep wanting to do dumb shit and act like they're progressive? 23 minutes if I want to go up there and get the food. I can't get the energy together because I was just up there. Motherfuckers keep doing this shit to me. Are you home? Yes. I'm coming to see you now. Okay. I don't know why you fucking people do that. The mic don't pick it up. There's rustling of papers. These muffin wrappers. I keep throwing them into that cage. And there's mice behind the TV set here. Oh. Now, what happened this morning? There was shit that happened this morning too. I was listening to. You know what? Fuck it.
I'm last man standing. My bitch on the runway like a plane land.
But my nigga ain't close, so you gotta talk to these niggas.
Hey, you're Mary, full of grace. Smack the bitch in the face. Hey, you're Mary, full of grace. Smack the bitch in the face. Name another rapper that's as bad as bars. In Toronto, making hits like I was Alomar. Sauteed chicken, green peppers at the salad bar. Cops still profile niggas without the avatar. Had 20 niggas, I'm last man standing. My bitch on the runway like a plane landing. It's awesome, shoot up the church like Charleston. Before we listen to robbing banks, we fuck the Carlton. My mom's brother had that whip, we call him Uncle Phil. Like you could be as fresh as a prince, but I had that fucking will. I'm in a muscle car, shorty get a foreign. Folks till I'm in a car, cause some fucking party scoring. Niggas that was worried, over whores that were whoring. If I put my 50 cents in it, rains when it's pouring. Like none of you niggas fucking with me. Dollars, my young boy gon' smoke up for 150. I'm trying to lead this world with 200 50. If it
It's not their fault. I can't get up there. I won't be able to make it. So again, the healthy, greedy, fat white people that don't breathe right, constantly spitting out extra carbon dioxide and methane, get the food that the black people make. So that first one I showed you, the brown planted there is tomatoes, and the second one is a grape.
Niggas sleeping on me, wake up out in the casket. White and yellow gold on my neck look like an omelet. I'm like MJ and these niggas did it wrong. They just still care, really daring up that profit. I'ma hit his block.
And I know where there's 3 backed up storm drains. Here's what I'm doing. I'm gonna add up like 2 or 3 problems in the neighborhood, and then also report the ventilation for the building, just over and over and over till somebody fucking looks at why you people are simply not doing your job. The inspector don't come here. It's a phone call then. Hey, I'm supposed to come inspect, so you better make sure everything's on in case they send my boss to double check. And I'm gonna tell them you already did it. I believe that's correct there. Let's just leave that at that. There's there's a side street. It's a block from a school, and the whole fucking corner's flooded. I know schools aren't open. It's not the fucking point. It's gonna take them a month to fix that shit anyway, and I'm not gonna have these kids walking through shit water. These kids are not walking through shit water. I'm not going to have little old ladies trying to decide if they can walk in the road and is that driver going to stop them. No. In my plantation, I own every fucking thing on it. From the bottom up. As above, so below. You plug up them storm drains, you ain't going to be breathing up here.
Do you want to be my rival? My only competition is
Never.
my idol. I'm killing them, these niggas suicidal.
Did you catch that, Mr. Gang Graffiti Expert? My only competition is my idol. IDLE, never idol. How many of these should you got to go listen to every single track and then interpret it through the ear? Somebody that's heard all the other tracks from the previous decades that lead up to these. You're not liking what you hear, are you, Mr. Texas Gang Graffiti Expert?
Live the double life, busting guns and reading Bible. I push white, smoke green with a black gun. I'm getting bread, these niggas bitches give them bread.
And I tell them that I never really never had a gun.
I'm shitting on the room, kicking up. My lifestyle check girls, don't compare it. Ronnie, he would rock a man to sleep, don't get at him. I'm always speaking in the third person, cause there's 3 of me. Was a dope boy, a rapper, either he just shooting me. I just run up on him, don't get caught, screaming DGC. I just run up on him, light him up like a Christmas tree. I heard gunshots in the snow, didn't get no sleep. Really?
The Toronto South Delta Chelsea. So we shut down the trains twice. We got them operating now where no one will interrupt it. We've had you home invaded multiple times. We got Everybody gets in our way, gets investigated, kicked out of office, whatever. You want to keep playing games, that's okay. I'm going to keep cleaning the shit out of the storm drain. If I see you white people roll by, chuck the bottle out the window. I know that's what you're doing. I know it is. I don't have to catch you at the second doing it. All I got to do is look at the garbage. And it's all expensive brands of water, and they're all different brands. It's not like somebody sitting on their porch throwing a dozen of the same bottle into the garbage, is it? No, it's all different. They're all, as you're driving by, they're all landing in slightly different places, but they're collecting in the same areas. That's forensics, buddy.
I was broke the whole time that I lived in the beat. Water hanging around me, I'm a plastic. Niggas sleeping on me, wake up out in the casket. Lucky yellow gold, my man that look like an omelet. I'm like MJ, these niggas that is popping. Niggas still carry, they're in the carpet. I'm the hill up, walk up, really rockin'. I'm like MJ, these niggas that is popping. Niggas still carry, they're in the carpet. These niggas Dennis Rodman. I was like Dennis the Menace and now I rock man. I'm top 5 in the city, you ain't top 10. The internet got me beefing with a waistline.
Men's in orange jumpsuits carry around trash cans. Still up these bad men, leaving window wastelands. One up like a tire fire off the retard. I'ma sit here getting higher. So what did we learn? Nothing.
Hello.
Oh, we got
This call is
confirmation
from
of
the
what we
Tax
suspect.
Department of Canada Revenue Agency. The reason behind this call is that there is a case, a lawsuit that is getting filed under your name. The moment you receive this message, I need you to get back to me on my department division number. That is 647-945-9.
Oh, I can't. It's too slow. Too slow. Get out of here.
They told me them wicks and it.
Oops. That thing.
Yeah. That's raw shit.
Round table shit, dog. What up, God? Peace. Yeah.
Something like Michael Corley in the future. In the morning, seems holler for that work like a rooster. They screaming, I tell them that the shop's open. Then with a pit by the door, because the lock's broken. Don't get your hand bit off, I'm by the pot smoking. Listen to a killer when he tell you that he's not joking. Them rocks potent, got these fiends stiff. Fish got that mean whip. Run it all out queen like Supreme Griff. For that triple beam dream, you know machines grip. In a stick up, get that clean grip. The magazines clip. Got 5 steamed fish with a rice and peas. A couple righteous thieves, cypher, well I like the trees. Them trifling bees, stinging niggas with their quadstep. Try stealing me, I'm burning down the whole wasp nest.
Everywhere I go, all I see is white.
Having a paranoid moment. So every day I get up, there's a hole dug in here. So I suspect all the dates I planted have been dug up by the mice.
I go harder than a motivated. They should have blocked me in a psych word. Psych word. Instead, I'm in the world and shit is awkward. Awkward. Keep my head up like Tupac. By enemies like Malcolm. We dream like Martin. I despise your intelligence. You don't make sense. You're an MC without purpose. A circus. You're clown. Fuck the ground. I rock cloud. Money talk. And music runs a marathon. Never worshippers all around us. I'm God's work. It's out of my hands like selling grams. Posters on the block. Rock, taking shots, ounce for the city, pounds for the country. I'm an OG from the 90s. Been doing this for a minute. Unstoppable, unpredictable. If our police is garbage, no knowledge. Revolution is a process. John F. told the truth, that's why they killed him. When the light dim, in Genesis the rockers, the good and the bad, the yin and the yang. We go hard, harder in the paint. Harder in the paint. When I moonwalk, I cause destruction. When I moonwalk, you think I'm Jackson. You think I'm Jackson. We go hard, harder in the paint. harder in the pain. When I moonwalk, I cause destruction. When I moonwalk, you think I'm Jackson. We go harder in the pain.
Work hard, party harder, live large, try live large, just sit back while we kick raps, while we kill the track. It's a verbal attack, don't stop.
People complain about lockdown. By the time I get enough oxygen in me to be able to go make that trip a second time and digest the food will be gone. You complain about lockdown. And you wonder why we out in the street hungry making money. What is happening? I'm not complaining. I'm just pointing it out. And that's why I don't see this as so this track apparently doesn't work at all. Yeah, more inputs, this is good. Okay, place this in. Maybe. And something's just taking up all the fucking memory the system has. This is good. It's so creative, bro. It's so creative. There's 2 drags left in the joint, and magically we've got 8 fucking problems at once. Up and down, the Chomo fucking clown is making his presence known. Come on. You've got the slowest fucking internet connection in the world, bro. That took 20 fucking seconds to change, bro. Jesus Christ. You don't make no sense, dog. You watched this entire time. We'll sneak in what we're doing. Let me guess. The audio's going to cut out, and you're going to get pissed that I actually stop the video and make a new one every time you do that. Which means you have to sit and watch all day and make sure I don't.
You can't categorize me. I seen the game front row. It was like Spike Lee. At your baby mama house is where I might be. She said she seen the video on my IG.
Really?
Motherfucking police always be fucking with me. Everywhere that I go, motherfucking police always be fucking with me. Everywhere that I go, do I look like a criminal? What the fuck do I look like a criminal? What the fuck do I look like a criminal? Police wanna hella sweat, cause I keep a hoodie on, Bill Belichick. Every night I'm getting stopped and frisked. When I walk in the drugstore, they think I'm here to shop. I'm just picking up Percocet prescriptions. Cops always tell me that I fit the descriptions. So what, I got prior convictions. I can't leave the house unless it's under conditions. In other words, I'm a changed man.
Keep it up, Chomo. Come on, Chomo. Get a real internet connection. So the problem here is this network-aware malware.
Welcome to Matters. It's a podcast about Mi'kmaq people,
the problem here is with
land and wire. I'm Glenn Wheeler.
Hey, dumbass, I'm attempting to fucking explain what's wrong with your fucking hacking here. The problem is this network-aware malware waits for an answer from your fucking system, and you have a slow-ass fucking computer on a slow-ass fucking internet connection. Yeah, it just freezes and holds. And then it goes frame by frame, the median, all fucking distorted. My eyes twisted up, whatever the fuck else. Yeah. And every time I talk about that, no, shut up. And there's an 8-second delay, which is why I catch this every single fucking time. Right, I have 8 seconds lead time every time this stupid up and down thing happens. That's his big hack.
Certainly, the two groups share the same territory at the same time.
Just to be 100% sure,
we might expect that
what's the word, devil's advocate or whatever.
Relations.
This here, there's no way of bringing that bar up and down.
Is not considered proof.
So even if you had the exact same, remote control pointing in the window, you wouldn't be able to do that. I know that's the one thing. Somebody out there's thinking, what is
the Albion First Nation, in partnership with Terra Nova Genomics Incorporated, based in St. John's, will explore the possible genetic links between Beothuk and Mi'kmaq.
This is how this fucking
study is made possible by a $30,000 grant from National Geographic. It is open to members.
So
of
what
the
happened to you
Albion
that 2.5
First
days?
Nation
Were you in the fucking jail cell waiting to make
Steve
bail
Carr
or something?
is the president of Terra Nova.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, every time you'll notice I keep lining my face up for a split second.
Yeah.
And what, 3-4 times in a row now? It's like taking a snapshot.
Shoulda never trouble, and trouble never trouble you. Shoulda never trouble,
Yeah, I'm making fun of you, white boy. I'm making fun of you, white boy. And see, this is the thing. I forget. They're still trying to pretend that I think I'm white. And we're friends. I'm a fucking sociopathic drug dealer. I don't give a fuck who you are. You being white don't help your case in.
Keys to your garden, homie, what you guarding? Picking up my checklist, switching up my weapon. I'm afraid of rejection, so I keep hitting the barrel of my magnum. Bullets penetrate through cars when I blast them. Hit the club party hard, VIP section. Do a show with the crowd, GSC weapon. OT, blue flag, now everybody's cousin. Real bad boy, you get beat down in public. Police don't stop shit, black on black, they love it. Rather see us fight than make lovers out their daughter. Plant a black seed in the trees, it's called mulatto. I never trouble with furs, never trouble them, never trouble them. I never trouble with furs, never trouble them, never trouble them. So make them come ready for them, come ready for them. Make them come ready again, come ready again. Yo.
Yo, what that beat, that beat, that beat. For the MC to drop his name in. What you listening to, dog?
Welcome to Sputnik, still orbiting the world, even in the time of the coronavirus, with me, George Galloway. It's a slimmed-down version, of course. Gayatri's at home on her maternity leave, but we are still going and I hope still providing some.
I wonder how long we'd wait on hold if we call the city right now. But there's no way to figure that out right now. It's 5:30, okay. I'm well aware of the way this city runs, and I still couldn't figure it. Would they leave somebody answering?
Niggas play the part.
They probably got people with some sort of probably web-based system. You wake up, log in, and then your phone starts ringing. I forgot to change my status to on lunch break. It's the same thing as using a Facebook account. Make fun of people for spending so much time on Facebook. They know how to do all this shit, and all you people still learning.
We've been flashy since the start of cat. Pull up in that Dodge Charger black. Pull up, let me switch the floor a bit. I wonder if these niggas notice it. I'm a gangster, they call J Bar. My whip a race car. The tech been bad and bullshit, them bullets take off. This pair big bags of bread we getting to make off and shake off. Some Nicolas Cage and that's your face off. A reefing Ghost Rider, the motorcycle on fire, shoot your face off. This pressure make it sound like it's a paintball. You know me, the glitzy you was town of Shaka Khan. And my homies Draco, Hammer, Bananas, and Donkey Kong. Break it down.
I wonder how long we spend on
Lambo with the Honda. Let's get it. This ain't a Lambo with a Honda. Let's get it.
Got the semi on me like a nigga that be rocking Chuck Taylor. And the cocaine, they got comeback. I call it cut razor.
Was that 2 inches of rain they thought we were
gotta
gonna
stay
get?
low. I can't trust neighbors. Yeah, I got weed and bad bitches. Don't forget money, nigga. What's greater? I got probably like 100 flows, so I'm different. I don't got one flavor. I be shooting what you running for. Got a gun on you, so you much greater. All I know is tying niggas up. If you run in their crib, got a duct tape. Shoot a nigga in the stomach if I ever truly about to write one statement. Pussy boy better stay low. I got a halo for
Fire, police, or medical emergency, please hang up and call 911. Your personal information may be required by our divisional partners and representatives working on their behalf to proceed
Yeah, it's
with
boring,
this
but it saved
request.
me a lot of time later.
Your information is collected under the City of Toronto Act 2006 and Bylaw 878-2004. 311 Toronto is committed to providing the best service possible to all customers. We remind callers that aggressive behavior, harassment, or coarse language will not be tolerated and may lead to ending the call interaction, if necessary. Please listen carefully to the following options as our menu options have changed. For property tax and utility bills, press 1. For noise, press 2.
I just forgot
For
the name of
water,
the fucking
press
cross
3.
street. Damn
For
it.
all other
Damn it.
inquiries, press 9 or hold for
Not
the
even
next
joking.
available customer service representative. To repeat these options, please press star.
We're over on the first page, isn't it?
Thank you for calling 311 Toronto. You've reached Dana. How may I help you?
I wanted to report 3 different catch basins that are backed up, if I could, please.
Okay, where's the first one?
So there's if I give the street address of 1900 Davenport, there's 2 of them there, one to each edge. I don't know how to phrase this. They're in the roadway, but they're to each edge of the property at 1900 Davenport.
Okay.
And the other one is on Via Italia, and I can't remember. I should have wrote down the name. I'm so sorry. Singleton Campbell. I'm looking it up right on my map right now. This second.
No problem. I'm just going through the one at 1900 Davenport then.
There's 2. There's one at each edge of the property. They're both backed up. Like it lines up basically with the next 2 properties, which I think are 1892 or something like that. But there's 2 of them up there, and there's usually cars parked there, so most people wouldn't notice it. And it's not always rainy for them to be backed up. I think they're draining really slow, but it takes a long time. Okay, so the third one, are you still entering the first 2?
That one is done.
Okay, so the other one is on Via Italia and Rosemount, I believe, on the northeast corner.
Okay. And northeast. Okay.
And it's basically it's about like it's within a meter or 2 of the corner, but the puddle of water covers I don't know, like maybe 10 meters or so, like in length. And I suspect it might have been draining out slow before, because I try to get around and see. I haven't seen that one before. Like for it to be backed up. And I'm trying to think of anything else I've seen around. And the only other thing that I'd like to mention, if I could, I've got a previous thing in about the building I live in, the ventilation. I was wondering if maybe I could make the same complaint again. The ventilation system's turned off where I live, and they keep turning it off. And the city keeps sending inspectors, they tell us, but they turn it on for a day and then turn it off again.
Okay, what's the reference number for that one?
Oh, damn, I don't have it handy. I can give you my phone number, my name, my address if you want.
What's the address?
It's 1011 Lansdowne Avenue.
Your unit number?
Yeah, it's not just my unit, it's the whole building. Can I give you my phone number?
Sure. Sorry, one second. Without the reference number, I can't actually see the notes on the file.
Okay, I don't need an update from you. I just want to like I just want to complain another time that it's still not functioning correctly.
What's your name?
My name's Richard. Bandon Kirkhoff. I can spell it if you want.
Actually, no, I have it here. Okay.
Yeah, that's me. I've called a few times about this. Oh, I remember the other detail about the. I'll get back to that in a second. One of the catch basins. There was a detail there.
Okay, it looks like for your request, they've closed it.
Okay, well, it's still not functioning correctly.
Okay, so I'll have to open up another one. One moment here.
Thank you.
Sorry, one moment here.
It's okay. I've got the time.
So for that building, it's that their ventilation isn't operational.
So there's ventilator. It's a high-rise building. There's ventilators above each stairwell, and then there's one for the hallways. The one for the hallways seems to be running, but the ones for the stairwells are just turned off. Like if there was, for example, smoke going into that stairwell, it would fill the whole stairwell because the fan is off. If you try to walk up the stairs to your apartment, you can't breathe in these stairwells because there's no. The ventilation is turned off. The rooftop ventilators, they call them, are turned off. The one for the hallways appears to be running, but the ones for the stairwells are just turned off.
Okay.
And there's two issues with it. There's a generator, an emergency backup generator, located relatively close to the exit of one of these stairwells. And if the ventilation's running, it's no problem. But if you turn it off, there's potential for carbon monoxide. And also, the garbage chute for the building runs directly into the parking garage. So again, if this ventilation system's turned off, there's the potential for carbon monoxide to be introduced into the residential areas.
Okay. Have you contacted fire services regarding this as well?
Not directly. I've been calling 311. I've been called. The number I called to reach you is what I've been calling.
Okay. I would suggest contacting fire services, their general line.
Okay.
An inspection, since this could be a potential fire hazard as well.
We've had a number of fire calls and fire situations, and the thing with the ventilators is the firefighters won't notice because they're wearing their own breathing system when they come in.
Right.
And they won't know if it's been like that for a long time or just because of a fire. Like, for example, we had 3 fire calls in one night to the same stairwell, and that's the same problem. The ventilator should help snuff a fire out rather than help it breathe, but it's turned off.
Right. So I'm saying if you contact fire services, I'll give you the phone number for this inquiry. They can book an investigation, not just come out for when there's an actual emergency and take a look.
Okay.
That is that.
Okay, so probably 416.
Yep, 338.
338.
9050.
9050. Okay.
And they're 8 to 4 Monday to Friday.
Okay. I remembered one detail about the one property there, 1900 Davenport. I'm not sure if it's city owned or there's just a city run daycare in there. This isn't located on the roadway or the sidewalk or anything, but they have what's called a clean out. So basically where their sewer line would connect to the city sewer line, there'll be an opening up to the ground level so they can inspect and clean it out if they have to. The cap on the top of it is missing. That's not something normally the city's responsible for, but I don't know if the city owns that property or they just have the daycare there. But I don't know how to phrase it. Basically, it means garbage or anything could get in there and jam up their entire sewer line for the whole building.
Yep. I'll put your request to let them know.
It's because it's a church and a health center and a daycare. I don't know who technically owns the property, but it'll affect the whole property if something happens to that sewer line.
Okay, I will put through the request. They'll be out there for within 48 hours for that one. For the catch basins, they'll be out there within 72 hours.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Is there anything else I can help you with?
No, not really. Thank you. You've been very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day. 9 minutes, 20 seconds. I didn't even get a joint rolled in that time. So on a side street, a block from a school, there's a gigantic puddle. The catch basin, there's no way to, since this whole fucking section of the city's built on a hill, that could be water that came down the sewer line from 3 days ago and backed up into the street. There's no way to know. If it's draining out slowly, then no one will notice it later, or they won't think about it later. If they didn't come out when it was raining to see it and it drains out slowly, they won't even think to report. I'd walk up past that one on a regular. I never seen it backed up that I can recall. And you have kids walking to school through shit water. No, I won't allow it. I will not allow it. And it's not something I want to do, but I can conceive of ways to clean those fucking things up. But it'd be a hell of a lot of work. Not just to start with, those fucking grates are heavy as hell. But I do know the ones on the sides, the catch basins, they're hinged. You can flip them up. They're easy to open for that purpose. That thing with the fucking septic cleanup's been bothering me for 6 months. I got an old clip that came home. Forgetting the city runs the daycare, if nothing else, they have an interest in that. It's a $5 piece of PVC. I don't know who busted it. You know about plumbing or even a bit of contracting. You know the cleanouts are important. You got to keep those covered. You start throwing garbage down there, you're gonna have mad problems. There's no telling how much shit they've thrown down there already that ended up in the main sewer line. There's a set of steps there. I'd spend more than enough time sitting around in public in the daytime wasting. Nice hot day. I just know these idiots are gonna throw their beer cans down there. Wasn't there 3 shootings yesterday?
Let's get it.
Just out of sight, out of mind. That was yesterday. The sun went down and came up again. Shut up. The fire in the sky came back. Shut your mouth or you'll piss it off and it'll go away again.
Let's get it.
This is what we're dealing with out here. So the other option I have is to take a picture with the GPS coordinates tagged and email it to the city, which I would do. But I've had nonstop. I've had like one problem after another with shit like that. So I'm gonna use the phone because the more I use it, the cheaper it gets. Because I pay a flat rate every fucking month.
Yeah, you ain't man. Show homie AP about paper. D Block, BDS, Cinco. You already know what it is. Right now, I'm rocking out with my nigga M1, aka Moolah, man. Boy got bars, man. Young nigga too, man. 17 years old. Getting it in, getting it real. He got bars, man. That's all I'm gonna say, man. You already know, man. If I co-sign this shit, I co-sign his bars, you know what I'm saying? So I can tell y'all, man, my nigga got bars, man. If you want to see if he a real nigga now, man, run up on him, man. He'll let you know you're YO the T dot, man. That's how we getting it down, man. Shout out to my nigga DJ Diggs, my nigga DJ Opie, man. Let's get him.
DJ Opie. I ain't lying, throat infection, bronchitis.
Welcome
That's why
to
you
Big
see
Mom
me out there.
Matters, a
So
podcast about Big Mom people, politics, land, and water. I'm Glenn Wheeler.
you see me going on every few days for a month and it'll fucking rain. If I wait till it rains, it'll be too late to clean any of that shit up. But I can't tell which ones are backed up till the fucking rains. And we got 2 inches of rain, right?
Thank you.
Next phone call. I know it says 666 over and over in my life. Over and over. I know 66. I know.
Welcome to
I got 3 banknotes in a year with 666 in the serial. I'm gonna go for English right now.
For the city of Toronto.
For the forecast for the next 7 days, press 1. For the hourly observations, press 2. Weather conditions at 5 p.m. Toronto, Pearson International Airport, cloudy, temperature 8, relative humidity 93%, wind east 19, gusting to 28 kilometers per hour, barometric pressure 100.9 kilopascals and rising. Toronto, downtown, temperature 8, relative humidity 90%, barometric pressure 100.9 kilopascals and rising. Toronto City Centre Airport, cloudy, temperature 8, relative humidity 95%, wind east-northeast 39, gusting to 54 kilometers per hour, barometric pressure 100.9 kilopascals.
Gusting to what?
For the forecast for the next 7 days.
We'll come back to that in a second.
Canada forecast issued at 3:30 p.m. Monday, April 12th, for tonight, Tuesday, and Tuesday night. City of Toronto, for tonight, periods of rain ending early this evening, then cloudy with 30% chance of showers or drizzle. Fog patches developing this evening. Wind east 20 kilometers per hour, gusting to 40, becoming light early this evening. Low 7. For Tuesday, cloudy, 30% chance of showers or drizzle, changing to 70% chance of showers or drizzle in the morning. Fog patches dissipating in the morning. High 14, UV index 4 or moderate. For Tuesday night, mainly cloudy. Low +5. Extended forecast, Wednesday, a mix of sun and cloud with 40% chance of showers. High 14. For Wednesday night, cloudy with 40% chance of showers. Low +4. For Thursday, cloudy with 60% chance of showers. High 9. For Thursday night, cloudy with 60% chance of showers. Low +5. For Friday, cloudy with 30% chance of showers. High 13. For Friday night, cloudy periods. Low +4. For Saturday, a mix of sun and cloud. High 13. For Saturday night, cloudy periods. Low +4. For Sunday, a mix of sun and cloud. High 12. Normals for the period. Low +3. High 11.
So, okay, it's gonna probably rain every fucking day. And if it doesn't rain, you're gonna be sitting there waiting for it to rain. The cigarettes will fucking kill you. You just try smoking my cigarettes and you'll fucking so they said the other day, it's 25 to 50 millimeters is basically 2 to 4, 1 to 2 inches. So I timed that other phone call just right. Okay. 48 hours. I wonder what it was I said. Was it the city, is it that owns the property or whatever, that made that a 48-hour call instead of a 5-day call? There's like, that's all like, I want to say form letter that someone to like drop down menus, like the computer decides. Oh, we got so many computer systems involved in running this city and this province. There's cameras all over the damn place. The police have cameras. Toronto Transportation has cameras. The province has what they still call them sometimes rescue cameras. RESCU. There's no E. Our helicopter ambulances are called Orange with no A. ORNGE. This is how we do things in provincial new home warranty program. You take the word Ontario, it becomes Terrion. Instead of Ontario, Terrion. Got Trilliums. You need a corporation to sell the goods from the prison labor. Call it Trill Corp. This the fucking this place is fucking crazy. It will drive you up the wall. No, like everything's got to have this snappy, like it's 1984, like the book. I mean, all the fucking time. I don't need that. I needed a piece of tobacco. I'm not prepared. That phone call went a lot faster than I thought it was going to. I keep finding strange that, yeah, where that backed up catch basin is, I think. I could be wrong. Where was I today? There's so the roads were not always where they are now, but the pipes and things under the ground, they don't move those. I find gas shutoffs, like for a building or a house, in the middle of the fucking street. I know several places where there's a piece of PVC pipe that sticks out of the ground just a little bit, just enough that you can drive over it. It won't damage your tires or anything. I don't know what they're connected to. I have no idea what was inside that pipe that at one point was so important that they won't move it. Well, there's nothing I can do, but I might as well keep an eye on what's happening. I hear another one. Yeah, while I've been out and about, I heard quite a few sirens. I need a hand sign for sirens. Emergency vehicle. How do I? What's the hand sign for emergency? Oh, that'll help. What's he saying? M&M? No, I'm going to be getting into arguments with deaf drivers from out-of-state jurisdictions. So, in Ontario, you cannot get a license if you're deaf or have monovision. I don't know why. Legal other places, why not here? Well, might as well get the disappointment over with.
Whether you could use
Their cars behind.
Wow. All right. Well, you see, the cannabis that you noted in the city parks, that small beer, no pun intended, compared to what's going on in Vancouver, the city council there is recommending people caught with 3 days worth of illicit drugs, 3 days worth won't face criminal charges. What do you make of that, Kim Wright? I mean, 3 days worth, that's kind of subjective or relative, isn't it? I mean, some people who are really heavy into it, they may need to carry a duffel bag with them. 3 days.
Rubber band boy still stay with a duffel bag. How the fuck did he know that reference?
I like where they're going. I like the concept.
He's just a good old Canadian boy, knows how to keep his mouth shut, right?
Educate and challenges and make sure that people who want to get help can get help. And all of those things are being put into this. But the practicalities of
bitch, I got the weed. I just need something to eat. In fact, they want to give it to me for free, but I can't get there medically.
So I think we need to really recalibrate that. I think it's certainly a starting place for the conversation.
If I skipped that, I would have been a half hour ahead of time.
Particular threshold
I skipped a shower, but another half
something
hour
where it
ahead.
isn't just always an attack on people of what is simple possession. Frankly, our courts.
But how do you wean them off drugs? I mean, if you're giving an allowance of 3 days and the cops are not going to charge, they're just basically going to give you a notice that, hey, maybe you want to get to a place where they can check you out. I don't know what they would call it, but it sounds to me like this is really, it's a slippery slope to total enabling, isn't it?
Well, we don't have detoxes anymore, do we? Because it's Toronto.
So I think what you need to do is
if there's no interdiction, then what the hell's the point or purpose?
But there can be, and there should be, for the same reason that there's interventions when it comes to alcohol. People should understand what the
finally added the last letter E on my door here.
Showcase what are the right ways in which to go about
find
these things.
The sign I must have seen 6 months ago that says access interdict
hang-ups about
with no E
need to be rethought and being able to
on a French school, so I think they know what they're talking about.
Or other things around addiction.
All right, but a 3-day supply tells me that you're akin to being a peddler of sorts. I mean, you can certainly facilitate a bigger party with a 3-day supply.
Never want that bad,
boo about it. Be that as it may, I wanted to get around to something else. And Kim Wright, this is in your wheelhouse because
you're supposed to budget your money. Leave some of your money for later. Come back and buy a little bit at a time over and over.
That when it was virtual over the weekend?
I did participate, yes.
Okay, well, what is this $20 an hour minimum wage? That was passed. Diamond, you wanted to win. I can hear you barking in the background.
You got a dog?
I feel like Diamond and somebody who runs a business shouldn't necessarily be barking about this, but really what it boils down to is a recognition that the minimum wages across Canada do need to be lifted. Now, there's been a plan and a conversation around how do you do defensive Volvo.
Afria. So how's this work? Afria is looking to buy Tilray, and they're going to use the name Tilray and the CEO of Afria, supposedly. What I heard on the radio earlier today. It doesn't mean that that's what the original source said either. So okay, they've lost $361 million in the last year. They lost $1 million a day, not a week. So we went from losing. So from 60 million in a year to 20 million in a quarter, you could extrapolate that to 80 million in a year. You could extrapolate, and now they reported this company. So that's not all the same company. There's several different companies reporting these types of numbers. $361 million loss. They lost with the license to sell weed, and the cops can't come shut you down. You could run. There's rules about how to run it, but you can have your weed shop open all to whatever the hours you're allowed to operate, whatever the fuck. And the cops can't come just steal your weed, and they lost $1 million a day. How the fuck? What are you doing wrong? What are you spending money on? No, because it's not possible for them to have enough of a workforce to smoke it all. They're allowed to grow as much as they want or buy as much as whatever. They're producers, right? Licensed producers. They supply the freaking government that supplies everybody else. Yeah, everybody that wanted to take over marijuana, oh, that could be a business. We could make all sorts of money. Well, the pothead said, sure, you should do that. You should make it legal and then make all the money. And then, okay, we're going to make it legal. And then we all went off and did our own thing. And didn't listen to the rest of the sentence. What's the law say? 30 grams. You can't bother nobody for having 30 grams in a public place, basically. Is that a 3-day supply? You smoke 10 grams a day? When I was really sick last year, I think for a short time there, I got real close to 7 grams a day. Bearing in mind, I had a bunch of it, and then you start smoking the same stuff every day. And it doesn't have quite as much of an effect for me anyway. A lot of people will say this as if you switch from a different strain to a different strain. Well, I was sick with COVID, and I'm immunocompromised. I coughed that virus out like fucking nothing. So better write to the Ministry of Labor for this. Yeah, this is, and that's, for some reason, I was writing the Cyrillic for restaurant. Oh, I know why, so I'll be able to recognize the sign. Just, right. Good. Toronto Fire. T-O Fire. That's T-O-R-F-Y-R. It's not one. The Ministry of Labor is this other one. It blows my mind how many people will work in this environment and not say anything. You could, if you work there, you can call the fucking Ministry of Labor basically anonymously, and fucking, even if you have to tell the ministry who you, even if they insist on finding out who you are, they're not going to tell the employer immediately who the fuck you are, because there's so many employers in and out of this building, and so forth, contractors and shit. There's rules about ventilation for working in, what's the word? There's confined spaces. There's a bunch of words under the labor laws. If I'm paying you to do something, I don't get it. If you pay me to live in a structure I own, build, take stewardship of, I can do whatever I want to you. But if you weren't paying me, if you're a trespasser or a squatter, there's a bunch of rules I got to follow to get rid of you. But if I pay you to do a job, you're pretty much guaranteed that all those rules will be at least followed up on and enforced if you make a complaint. None of these people make the fucking complaint. People got this idea that they really believe this: what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, even with things that are cumulative. You get exposed to carbon monoxide over and over and over. All that ends up happening is you cease to notice that there's something wrong. One day the levels are too high and you don't fucking wake up again. One of the things I didn't catch, they were talking about on Talk 640 that I didn't catch on a recording was hypoxia. So it'll be on their podcast, but I don't remember which fucking show it was. Oh, yeah, I remember now. They were talking about to do with the test pilots and astronauts and shit. Hypoxia and how it's different for everybody. And so they were exposing these test subjects, so to speak, over and over and over to it, so that when they encounter it in real life, they will recognize the signs of it. Now, I never really thought of it that way, that it's different for everybody. I thought it was different for me because I got sickle cell or whatever the fuck's wrong with me, because they had me diagnosed as chronic bronchitis before. That means you have a productive cough for 18 of the last 24 months, then you qualify as having chronic bronchitis. I also know I've been exposed to natural gas and a number of other contaminants. When I was a kid, there was still leaded gas, or they had just phased it out right when I was born or whatever. Everybody smoked cigarettes. There was no thought as to the ventilation of any of these structures. This building was started in 74, completed in 76. The fire codes regulating it were updated in 1975. There's a movie about that, about people in a high-rise getting caught in a high-rise building. There's a fire. Oh, yeah, keep it up, Tromo. You don't like me talking facts. People get caught in a high-rise building. Keep it up, Tromo. I can talk right through it. I just prefer to point out what you're doing. Yeah, at the top of the hour, over and fucking over. You're so creative. You're so creative. And that's another thing that makes me think they've got malware. They're not just using malware, it's malware to them too. So there's a high-rise building. Yep, every time I say that word, it should lock up and freeze, or my head should do this. Yeah, frame by frame, go frame by frame, bro. So there's a high-rise building. That is so weird. What is your fucking issue with high-rise building, dog? You're the type of fucking piece of crap that wants to make everything around you bad and unhealthy, so you think it'll affect other people, but it's your dumbass that gets sick, which is what I'm getting to in the end here. The high-rise building is a movie shot based in Toronto. The fire is spreading throughout this high-rise building. People get trapped, and the fire truck ladders are not tall enough to get up high enough to do them any good. What a horrible communistic statement I was making there. And that's where one of these rules, these rooftop ventilators come in. And that's why there's stickers. It's not a gunshot, I don't know what it is. There's stickers on the doors, the fire doors, that all say not to be propped open, minimum $1,000 fine or some shit like that just for propping the door open. And if the sticker's not there, it means somebody tore it off. They're supposed to be on there. The only place where it's been illegal to smoke forever is elevators. When I was in the 80s, I moved into a brand new high-rise building, or city home building. It's not a high-rise, call it a mid-rise. Started in 86, completed in 88. We moved in 89. That was pretty normal all the way till a few years ago. It would take 2 years to build a building. Not because it had to, but they would do all the important shit in the summertime, like pouring the concrete. But I watched them build this 15-floor apartment building here in 6 months because it's privately owned, so they did it all in-house. This one here, a condo, because they're getting the money in from a bunch of other people. They're being cheap as possible when they do it. It took them like 4 fucking years. The site took like 25 fucking, was it 97 to 2014? Okay, 17 years to finally get it fucking done. 18 years. Actually, it was complete. So these rooftop ventilators, Just the stairwells are basically giant air ducts. So the problem is any warm air like combustion byproducts will go, if they make their way into the stairwell, will rise up. If you're trying to exit to get out of the building, you can't, because you can't. But if there's fans at the top of the stairwells pushing air down, it will push air out through all those doors, which will be matched by other ventilators in the hallways. When there's a fire in a unit, since they're all fire cells, the smoke and everything goes out the window, the vents, anywhere, but it doesn't come back into the hallway unless some dumbass stands there holding the door. I've seen these people do this. They opened up their windows wide, propped their apartment door open, went and stood and held the fire exit door open. When I look out the door, there's a wall of smoke coming straight down the hallway. The assholes did that on purpose. There's been saboteurs like crazy in this fucking bitch. People constantly doing things backwards, trying to fuck shit up and get people killed in a way where they go, oh, I didn't know, it was an accident. Extended-care nursing home fire, 1980 or whatever. There was a coroner's inquest because 30 people died. And there was a review of into the findings of the inquest. There was a committee, and there's a report, Ontario Government Publications, and the author is listed as the chairperson of that committee. That's my grandfather, Adrian Van den Kerkhoff. So he's got a credit as an author, technically. If you look it up on a computer, that's what it says. Google Books has a copy of it, but I can't read it. I'm not sure if they want money or they don't have a full version of it. It's one of those documents. Google has everything, but it doesn't have that. Anything connected to my life, I can't track down. The closer you, more specific to my life, the less I can track down. The garbage chute in this particular building runs into the same area. It runs into the parking garage, or the parking structure, which means the car exhaust in that parking structure is flowing all the time up through the garbage chutes. These people went and put notices, like signs, on every garbage chute door. It stinks. Don't put your garbage on the floor. It's like, that's not the problem. I can smell car exhaust. These people want to deny it. People that live here arguing, oh, that's not possible. I pointed at the fucking parking garage door and the air vent right next to it, and I didn't even think to mention the garbage chute. People don't want to believe. So I don't know how true this story is, because this person told a lot of weird stories, but some of the shit they told us was true. But they were telling us in this small town, Ontario, where they lived, there was an incident where a family sealed all their windows with plastic wrap to try to keep the heat in, sealed the whole place off, 5 people died. You can't outsmart stupid. Oh, we'll seal it perfectly airtight.
That Mi'kmaq matters or email funds transfer. These are strange and difficult times. I hope you and those dear to you are well and stay well. Below you. Like so many of us in this time of COVID, Nonosabasad and Damastabad are stranded, in their case in the rooms in St. John's. The sacred remains of this Beothuk man and woman returned from Scotland
It's when the media does cover this shit, it's always bait and switch. There was an incident in 2005 or 6 where somebody was holding a child next to a window and it fell out the window of a high-rise, and the kid didn't die, but everybody started in the media, all these people go, oh, there should be screens. Why weren't there screens in the window? There should be screens in the window. Why wasn't there a screen? Now go to your window screen, put your hand through it, put all your weight on it, see how well it holds that weight. You'll go right through it. The screen is not a safety device. The little catch that stops it from opening more than 10 centimeters / 4 inches, that's the safety device. Everyone else has screens. And we keep having fires in high-rise buildings where a whole bunch of poor people and black people and low-income people live. The fire will spread all across the whole floor and then up several floors. And the only thing the media will focus on is, oh, people had the fire doors propped open. Any building you find the fire doors propped open, it doesn't matter if the ventilation's on at that second. If the fire doors are propped open, that means the ventilation has been off for a long time. That's an act of desperation. That's not logical thinking. It's animal thinking, but they're going to open it up and get more air in here. The logical conclusion would be to smash the window in the fucking fire escape. That's another thing you won't see on the one fire escape. So the stairs both go counterclockwise when you're going down, just like the toilet flushes. On the north one, the window is to the southern side of the wall. So if you fall down the steps, you'll hit a concrete wall. On the north one, if you fall down the steps, you're going to go out the fucking window. That was legal when they designed the building, and they can't fucking force them to change it. They had chicken wire tack welded to the frames before they replaced all the windows. Now you're just relying on the strength of this double glass. And they'll make a big thing about requiring smoke detectors on every floor that has a bedroom and every apartment, blah, 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 blah. This is a concrete box. Smoke detector means nothing if the ventilation system runs. Nothing about putting sprinklers into these buildings, but they must have smoke detector. What does it mean? They have an excuse to come into my house again, and another excuse to buy radioactive material, and another opportunity to throw it in the landfill of my land. Over and fucking over. But they won't enforce the ventilation laws or the window catches. It takes time, but we always get this shit dealt with. When I moved in here, they made me sign a separate piece, like a separate little note piece of paper to state that there was a window safety device when I moved in, because people remove them and then they blame the landlord because people think they'll get in trouble. You can't get in trouble. You're just the tenant. They blame the landlord for why there's no safety device on them. They take it off and then throw it. No, I don't need that when they're drunk or high or whatever. So they have us all signing this thing. So if the inspectors come and want to check it out, you can say that it wasn't there. But it's more of a mental thing to remind you that you already admitted the thing was there when you moved in. That's another thing. If the ventilation's off, how many people have their windows wide open? You're worried about air conditioners falling out of windows. So your solution is to replace them all with portable units. That's good. So there'll be mold and fucking all sorts of shit. I've seen these portable air conditioners. They're not.
Welcome to Sophie & Co. Sophie Sheller Knotson. Private military contractors are becoming increasingly relied on to wage wars across the globe.
I need people willing to clean storm drains.
Welcome to the Cousin C Show. Now sit your ass the fuck down and shut the fuck up. Get the gas mask, let the gas mask. What the rappers, where your ass at? You went last week, enjoy the past week. What the army, it's everlasting.
Doses, I beg the mostest, cause I spit it hotter than toasters. Check my name out on all the posters. When I hit the stage, drinks hit the coasters. Women packed all the way to the third row. We ain't in the strip club, but call it per bro. I don't know what you heard, ho. I'ma tell you straight, baby. I'm a surf pro, running game like a limp bitch. Yeah, I'm running game with a limp bitch. The big dog gonna teach you some tricks, bitch. Get out there, catch a date and stack my chips, bitch.
Get the gas mask, bring the gas mask. What the rappers, where your ass at? You went last week, enjoy the past week. What the army, it's everlasting.
The future, track bruisers. Cut the beat in the back of the cruiser. Fuck the game up, Karma Sutra. In my Red Rover, I will run right through ya. Growl on the mic like a G should. Go hard on the beat to Clint Eastwood. Walk on water, everybody knew you would. Written in the scriptures, scholars knew we could. On my own, Julius Caesar. Take away my world, I only need her.
But you promise only wanna be heard. The Phoenix shall rise on my return. Get the gas mask when we spark that.
So, yes, keep it up. Keep it up. Your timing is impeccable. Your triggers are showing, bro. So, the fire services is a part of the city. But if you call, so apparently, if you call the city about something that has to do with a building that is housing, you have to be a tenant to complain about. Okay, that's odd. They're just treating it like a landlord-tenant issue, which is odd because that's not the city's purview. That's the province's. They're just deferring all their responsibility. It's supposed to be a fire inspector come check that, or whatever inspector comes should be what's the word, consulting with the fucking fire department. That's a serious fucking issue, and it's an obvious thing with this COVID thing. It's very obvious. You're breathing in the air from some crack house 24/7. All right. So I have to call the fire. So they said the general number. They don't even know who to refer me to. Oh, that's not good.
Why don't you come around here and I'll make you feel right at home? From the couch to the floor, we'll be in the zone. Let's get it on till the dawn arises. Kissing in the midst of the prairie horizon. Honeymoon chemistry is what I'm feeling from you. A perfect love story with a rough draft prelude. I wanna make it right and follow right through. Honey, breakfast in bed is something I can do for you. You can make mangoes from the tip of my tongue, and I can get it on. So baby, give me some, and I can give you some, then we can go from there. Keep it PG, but you see what I mean. Let's go. Walking up the walks and trail and watch the sunset and the moon and how the bills get promised by the river and sit on the beach. Quiet times in the city can never be beat. So baby, you can do your thing, and I can do my thing. No, we can do a thing. Say, baby, you can do your thing. So do your thing, and I can do a thing. No, we can do a thing. It's showtime, your time to shine. As a lady in a pace, got no time to be blind. I get it, got it good. You're doing what you shouldn't. Let me tell you, you're doing misunderstood. I'm doing my thing, and you're doing yours. Making life happen and dreaming of the world. You're dreaming of me, and I'm dreaming world tours. And I think it's very sexy when you show me your full force. Dressing, caressing, get the best of me. I can be your best friend if you let me see what you believe.
I should have filled all my water bottles a couple days ago. It's gonna taste like shit the next 2 days. It tastes like algae. Fish, shit, and algae.
You hear that? You smell that? Watch your mouth, bitch. Watch your motherfucking mouth. Yeah, bitch, you heard. That's what I said.
18 on both sides. Man, it's easy on the mic, but you know, man. Straight to Holly. You know what we do for that. Yo.
We them zones, nigga, won't fuck around. We them fuck around. We don't fuck around. Nigga, what it is? Talking all that shit, we ain't even stepping the paint. Niggas be trying to be what you niggas really ain't. Pull a lot of noise like I'm driving in the tank. Got a couple
nearly 3 years ago has been sentenced to life in prison.
John Rezednik pleaded guilty to second-degree murder earlier this year, admitting to killing 73-year-old Yusuke Hayahara in June 2018. He pushed him in front of a subway train that was moving at 50 kilometers an hour. A second-degree murder conviction comes with an automatic life sentence. The parole eligibility window is 10 to 25 years. The judge went with 14 years, which is almost in line with what both the defense and prosecution wanted. Rezednik's mental state at the time was a key issue during sentencing submissions. He was deemed fit to stand trial, but court heard the 56-year-old refused to participate in any other psychiatric assessment. I'm Charlene Close.
Opposition leaders have begun their one-on-one meetings with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau ahead of next week's pandemic budget.
Conservative Aaron O'Toole had the first meeting with the Prime Minister, and a statement from his party says the two leaders discussed jobs, the pandemic response, vaccines, and O'Toole claims the Prime Minister did not commit to reducing taxes. Ahead of the meeting, the Conservative leader demanded targeted support for hard-hit industries and denounced issues like a guaranteed basic income, which was endorsed at the Liberal and NDP conventions this weekend.
If you care about trendy causes and major experiments with our economy, there are two parties for you to choose from. If you care about jobs and getting Canada's economy back on track, you have only one party.
But Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's take is a bit different, tweeting their chat focused on creating good jobs while fighting climate change, growing the middle class, and getting us past this pandemic. Trudeau's meeting all opposition leaders this week. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
Traffic and weather is next.
Doug Ford says schools are safe, but it's not true. 1 in 4 Ontario schools have active COVID-19 cases. Ford didn't do what experts told him to do to keep kids safe. Now the virus is out of control, and we're facing school closures again.
Those are the teachers that keep getting caught doing dumb shit.
It's time to make vaccines
Where the teachers go, everybody gets sick and dies. Hey, wait a second, he's got a point.
Be safe until transmission is under control. A message from the Elementary Teachers Federation of
Like
Ontario.
COVID-19 till
More time outside, more time with family. And who knows, maybe time with more of the family. This is what we need. David Jones here from Hire the Gardener. The last thing you need right now is a list of chores.
I'm the
Just
highest
hire the
gardener.
We do it, you enjoy it. Call us once and we'll keep your yard looking. Zoom call.
You stay away from
Where you listen to your favorite podcasts.
Just missed the top of the hour news? Get caught up in less than 60 seconds. Just add the flash briefing skill to Alexa, then set it to evening. It's Jordan Kerr.
Well, it's really not too bad. The only delay we have on the highways right now is on the QEW. So on the eastbound QEW, east of third line, the left shoulder, we have a stalled vehicle, OPP and tow on scene. So visual destruction,
that
minor
car
delay
right in
there.
your ditch.
Westbound
Teach
on the
his ass a
QEW,
lesson.
delay is from Dorval to approaching third line because of the dump truck protest in the MTO scale. It's been going on all day. So that's the reason for that delay. That's really it. So the
Dump
QEW
truck
outside of that
protest.
little stretch in Oakville, moving along just fine
The
along with the
government
Gardner. From the 680
radio
Traffic
station.
Center, here's Carling Donahue.
No delays or problems on the east or westbound 401. Everything is up to speed. That's the same with the southbound, northbound DVP 404. The 400's in great shape. We do have on the southbound Waterdown Road, the ramp to the east 403, that has just been cleared. MTO notified me that there's no problem on that ramp any longer. So that is good news. And everything else is really moving up to speed, except we do have on the northbound 400, north of King Road, protests in the NTO scales. So that's just a visual distraction, no delay through that stretch. The world's best collide as Pinty's Grand Slam of Curling returns. The Humpties Championship Cup, April 14th to 18th. Sportsnet with the forecast. Here's Natasha Ramsahine.
Those temperatures are still at or above seasonal. Overnight lows tonight down to 7. Now we are going to stay cloudy tonight, or at least through this evening, and right around midnight bring back some
You go all day,
drizzle.
you're sweating and you're soaking wet. Tonight it's going to be cold and windy.
Well, we're already seeing that up on Hamilton Mountain. And then tomorrow afternoon, some sunny breaks, a high of 14 degrees. We also have 14
That's
on
not
Wednesday.
what the government man said.
Rain re-entering the GTA come Wednesday evening, and Thursday's kind of the all-day rain. This is your plan of indoor activities with the kids. We've got about 5 to 10 millimeters of rain and 10 degrees, although they like to splash and post too, so why not just go outside. Heads up, by the way, April 21st could see a morning near freezing, so don't plant anything just yet. Tonight we're down to a low of 7 degrees. It's 8 degrees up here.
Coming up at 6:30, the latest from the Fort Governor says all elementary and secondary students province-wide will be heading back to online learning indefinitely after the current spring break. Child care for emergency and frontline workers will remain in place. And don't expect another across-the-board discount on hydro rates. We reached out to the Energy Ministry. Says they'll be focusing on electricity relief for those who need it most. Details on these stories and much more coming up straight ahead.
The backed up storm drains and shit. It sounds backwards. The place where all the emergency workers' kids are, there's these people coming and going all day long. You would think they would be on top of the maintenance and everything. It's an inverse effect. Everybody assumes somebody else already did something. I haven't been calling in every stupid thing I see that's fucked up. I mean, I found this one. What am I supposed to do? Go choose a fire hydrant somewhere and put it on. I'm not taking the caps on the fire hydrant. No, that's what the police officer would be honestly.
Hassan Shahid, spokesperson for the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat in Canada, has launched a national campaign that gives people a chance to participate in Ramadan with fellow Muslims virtually.
A lot of events are being held virtually across the country, which we're calling virtual Ramadan get-togethers, where people in small blocks of bodies will be able to converge on an online platform to be able to partake in the Ramadan festivities together while still being confined in their homes.
Organizers say Canadians can also experience how
not just remaining within the comfort and safety of your own. Confined. Hey, by the way, what's happening in Ukraine/Russia?
And Montreal mayor says the violence and vandalism that took place during an anti-curfew protest last night was unacceptable. Some protesters smashed store windows and set fire to garbage along Montreal's historic district last night.
That's the other thing about garbage being everywhere. It's serious fire risk.
Responses police were on hand from the beginning.
Even to the point where
the situation degenerated quickly last night. Montreal police say they made 7 arrests and issued 107 tickets for people breaking public health rules. The Business Report is next.
If you're on the hunt for a new truck, we'll make it easy.
So I know where there's a school where for some reason they keep piling gardening supplies on top of and in front of the standpipes to the sprinklers. That's not acceptable. Oh, there's a restaurant, pizza, where they put all their garbage and recycling piled up against the gas meter. That meter vents every so often. If the pressure ever builds up too much, it'll vent. A little fart of methane gas. You got garbage right there. If some idiot falls over, drops his cigarette butt, your gas meter fucking burps or farts, and now your fucking building's on fire. It's built with plywood and crap. Set 2x4s and shit for it. Make your buddy shit.
Your car can be gone tomorrow.
Good evening, boy. You have to feel for the airlines, in particular Porter Airlines. The Toronto-based company again pushing back plans to get its planes back in the air. Porter hasn't flown a single flight.
They own their planes. They don't give a fuck. They'll just park them. Fuck it. Volcanoes going off, sick people. Damn, the longer you wait another year, and you'll have the cleanest supply of planes.
The airline is looking ahead to summer and preparing, he says, for the possibility.
And if nothing else, you could sell those planes to like other countries or some shit if they start
rebuilding its operations as soon as conditions allow. All right, switching gears, Canada's second largest.
Which conditions? Political,
bringing back
economic,
for its workers here in Ontario.
environmental,
as the government puts the stay-at-home order back in place. So
health,
bringing back what they call pandemic aid.
What are we talking? Which conditions?
Is quote the right thing to do, and will be in place throughout the stay-at-home order. So he says the more an employee works during the lockdown, the more they earn, ranging from $10 to $150
more dollars per week. Shares of the parent company Empire were down 5 cents at $40.54. It was a money-losing day on the Toronto stock market, and Canada stocks played a big role in that. Aphria reported a big third-quarter loss. Aphria stock closed down 14% at $17.47. The TSX down 26 points to 19,201. We did see a late-day rally on Wall Street, but not one big enough to turn the indices higher. The Dow closed down 55 points. The S&P down a single point. The Nasdaq down 50. Gold now $12 to 1,732 U.S. dollars. The ounce. Oil higher, but shy of $60. The stock down almost 11% at $140.
I got it used 10
The
years
Canadian dollar lower to 79.55 cents U.S. The top stories are next on 680.
Your employment rights with Lior Samfiru from employmentlawyer.ca.
COVID-19 has forced drastic employment changes on many Canadians in the form of layoffs, pay cuts, reduction in hours, demotions, and work relocation. What most employees don't realize is that your employer does not have a right to make significant changes to terms of employment without your consent. You don't have to accept these changes. Your employer is essentially terminating you, and you are owed full severance pay. I can help you get the severance package you are legally owed. My team has helped tens of thousands of employees get the compensation they deserve when changes are made to their job. Before you accept any changes, contact me and discover why my employment law firm is the most positively reviewed firm in Canada.
Contact employment lawyer Lior Samfiru today. Get the advice you need and the compensation you deserve. Visit employmentlawyer.ca. That's employmentlawyer.ca.
Expect some drizzle throughout the evening and into the morning tomorrow. Afternoon highs 14 degrees, mainly cloudy. It's similar, about the same on Wednesday as well. This is CFPR 680 at night, or rather 6:30.
Toronto's #1 for breaking news, traffic, and weather. This is 680 News.
It's Monday, the 12th of April. I'm Sljana Timinsik.
I'm Scott Burnett. Here's what's making news right now.
On hold indefinitely, Premier Ford and Education Minister Stephen Lecce confirmed schools will not resume in-person learning after spring break.
Ontario government officials talk about what's being done about the ever-increasing number of COVID patients in the ICU. 350 net new beds are promised by the end of the week.
Indefatigable
Many
thugs.
people trying to book vaccine
That's what
appointments are
an
facing
African
confusion
president
about
said when he
and
gives
where
his
they're
presidential
eligible,
guides.
even getting conflicting messages from some public health units. Mayor Tory wants the province to clarify.
You won't be getting a break on your electricity bill while you stay home. The province won't be bringing back pandemic hydro pricing for the latest lockdown.
So what is, just tell us what the price is. It's a gas price because we're not going anywhere.
30 minutes away from puck drop in Montreal against the Habs. Sports at 45.
Money losing Monday for the main stock benchmarks, plus throwing in the towel. How many Ontarians admit they'll never be able to own a house? Business at 56.
Time 6:31.
Traffic and weather together on the ones. Here's Jordan Kerr.
Well, it's pretty quiet right now.
That's how you know the real Ontarians. They have a hard time with that word.
Around the third line, east of third line,
Ontario, wait.
both directions, but it's already
Say
not
Ontario.
too much of a delay. Watch out on the
No.
eastbound QEW east of third line. We also have the left shoulder blocked up with a stalled vehicle. Crews are on scene, so some flashing lights, so be careful around there. The northbound third line ramp to the east QEW is closed off, so keep that in mind. That's still closed off. It's been closed off since about 11 o'clock this morning. Still closed, and that's really in terms of delays. Basically not on the QEW. It's moving well east and westbound. From the 680 Traffic Center, here's Carling Donahue.
I wish I had more to tell you, but I don't, which I mean is good news for your drive. Northbound on the 400, just north of King Road. The protests are going on there as well in the MTO scales. It's not causing any kind of slowdown. On city streets, that's really where the action is right now. Eastbound Eglinton is closed between Oakwood and Marley. If you don't know where Marley is, it's approaching the Allen. That's due to a fire investigation, so just avoid the area if you can. And then southbound Bathurst, south of Center Street. Traffic spotter phoned a while ago saying that crews were just in the process of moving out of the way there. So if you're headed through that stretch, call us and give us an update at star 680. But south of Center Street, blocked for a collision and northbound Bathurst approaching Center. It's down to a single lane getting through due to a crash as well. We also have Parliament at Wellesley shut down, and that's due to a fire investigation. Your next report's at 6:41 with the forecast. Here's Natasha Ramsahheim.
Well, it's going to be mild, still overcast here, but pretty light winds. Watch for some drizzle, some fog patches overnight tonight, especially returning after midnight. And it is going to mean some damp conditions out in the morning as you wake up to that 7 degrees the afternoon. Some sunny breaks. We have to wait until
I don't think I found any bags of dog shit.
14 degrees is what we'll get up to.
Nah,
overnight tonight down to low 7 degrees. It's 8 degrees now at Pearson.
680 News Time, 6:33.
The Ford government is freed from its usual format of announcing next steps just before a weekend. This afternoon, a week before students are set to return to in-class learning after spring break, Premier Ford confirming that students would be returning to remote learning instead.
The announcement comes as the province reports another record for ICU capacity and how it plans to help alleviate that crunch. 680's Richard Southern comes with the details.
The education minister said just yesterday that schools would remain open, but today a different story. All schools will remain closed for in-person learning, and there is no timeline for them to reopen.
With COVID spreading like wildfire, with these deadly variants taking hold in Ontario, we simply can't be too cautious right now. We have to be proactive.
You heard that last ad.
Again, the education minister just yesterday said schools would remain open. Premier Ford was asked what changed in less than 24 hours.
These variants move rapidly. When we received information late in the afternoon, we decided to act immediately.
NDP leader Andrea Horvath.
Doug Ford walked us right into this school shutdown with his eyes wide open. And experts warned the government that we knew this was coming.
There will still be in-person learning for students with special needs, and childcare will remain open. I'm Richard Southern.
This is 680 News. The health minister says there is a plan to address the record high patient numbers in ICUs. 680's Mark Douglas joins us from Queen's Park with that.
4,401 new cases in a single day, a positivity rate at almost 10%, and 600.
That could be the name of a sequel to the 4,400.
Intensive care. Even some ICU beds at Sick Kids Hospital are being used by adults now. Minister of Health Christine Elliott.
Now they said they were moving all the kids. They were closing down all the kids units at all the hospitals and moving them to Sick Kids. Now they have adults at Sick Kids. I don't like that.
By the end of this week.
Elliott says
no, that's wrong.
The new scaling
that's
back
wrong.
Elective surgery.
How many people donated to that? Specifically for that?
Are all meant to deal with ICU problems. Premier Doug Ford showing some frustration about questions of where things went wrong and have lessons been learned.
But it's easy for people to sit back and say, should have, could have, would have, done this, done that. Walk a mile in someone's shoes.
At Queen's Park, I'm Mark Douglas. 680 News Time is 6:35. The vaccine rollout continues to be slow and difficult for many. 680's Momin Qureshi tells us Mayor John Tory is calling on the province.
You're going to run the subway line. But the seems paying to keep the storm drains up above them clear.
But a lot of that depends on where you live, what your job is, and whether you're eligible in a hotspot zone. Many people posting stories online today about trying to figure out if they're eligible, calling the numbers, trying online, even getting some conflicting stories from details from public health units. Mayor Tory says the mayors from the GTHA met today and they want the province to clear things up.
We requested today that they should perhaps set this out as part of a publicity campaign that could make it clearer to people what some of those parameters are, as was well explained by the chief, and what some of the reasons were, so that people will better understand that. We think that's very important to the maintenance of public confidence and just to people's understanding.
And one of the things people have a lot of questions about is those hotspot zones where people 18 and up can get the vaccine. Chief Matthew Pegg explains that is a very specific scenario.
But as it is right now, those 18 years of age and older who are eligible for vaccine are eligible in hotspot neighborhoods at such time as there are pop-up or mobile clinics launched.
Reporting live, I'm Momin Qureshi.
Here with All News Radio 680 News, the province won't be lowering hydro rates during this stay-at-home order. 680's Karen Siolan joins us live with those details. Karen.
So, Jenna, Ontario's latest month-long lockdown will not mean cheaper hydro bills. Electricity rates are not being lowered like they have been every time we're under orders to stay at home. A spokesperson for the Energy Ministry tells 680 News this time around the province is focusing on providing bill relief for those who need it most through the COVID-19 Energy Assistance Program, and that eligibility has been expanded. Now, while Ontarians stay home, they will be billed based on the hour the electricity is used, or the tiered option, which charges a fixed rate for a set amount of electricity consumption. Now, customers struggling to pay their hydro bill because of the pandemic can apply for that assistance with their local provider. Reporting live, I'm Karen Seolin.
680 News Time 6:37. The Minnesota Twins have postponed their game against the Boston Red Sox this afternoon in the wake of the deadly shooting of a black man in Minneapolis of the suburb yesterday. 680's Phil Martino tells us the NHL and NBA are following suit. She joins us live. Phil.
Scott, the Twins say they decided it is in the best interests of their fans, staff, players, and community to not play today's game. The NHL